On the Dawn Declaration by the Cuban Ministry of Foreign Relations, we expressed our reject to military forces from USA in the Caribbean. The big quantity of effectives deployed, including a nuclear submarine, it is contradictory to what the U.S. wants to sell as what they are doing is to fight against narco traffic. The Global Report 2025 from USA says that the USA is the biggest consumption in Americas and maybe in the world, that have the biggest webs of consumption, distribution, with payment and laundry of big amounts of this illicit business generates. Are in these factors in their own territory that the U.S. government have to pay the deepest attention and to canalize their resources to face them. The U.S. government, on the other side, built a false narrative in the region, in this case, against the constitutional president from Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro Moros. The intention to link the Venezuelan government with criminal organization is a new construction to cover violent acts. I want to reinforce what Díaz-Canel, our president, said, that the peace cannot be built with cannons and warship. It's not the first time that Washington governors go to lies to justify. It has happened in numerous military interventions in our region and the support to criminal dictatorship. The fight with no rest against narco traffic is a try to dominate the Latin American with Monroe Doctrine. In this adverse context, we must prevail and to strengthen our integration spaces to strengthen ALBA and CELAC. From the declaration of the revolutionary government in recent days, calling the international movement to stop this aggression against Venezuela and our America, I am calling to strengthen our alliance, to close lines in front of this one that want to impose their things. Sovereignty and independence must be defended. They are not negotiable. The seriousness of this moment, it is to high our solidarity. For Cuba, it is a priority. This for the agenda, ALBA agenda. We greet the result in ALBA and other projects that shows our strength and capacity. Our countries are going to be a resistance nucleus, creativity, favoring the peace, development, justice, and dignity of our peoples. I am very thankful, deeply thankful, the solidarity of ALBA countries in our confronting the U.S. blockade against Cuba, and they're asking to take out Cuba from the list of sponsors from terrorism. I ratify the effort of the Cuban people. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Bruno Rodriguez Parrilla. And I passing word to a very special invited, Vad Gonsalves from San Vicente La Lorena, who honor us to come in to this council, political council. Go ahead, Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves.
Muchas gracias. Buenos días, colegas.
Thank you very much, colleagues.
El mundo
The
de
wo-
hoy
Today's world,
está en una situación más complicada
it is a very complicated situation
que el mundo que teníamos
than
cuando
the
nos
world that
reunimos por
we
última
had
vez.
in our last meeting.
Y debemos tener una mejor
And
comprensión
we
de
have
esta situación
to have
compleja.
a very better understanding of this complex situation.
¿Cómo podemos abordar juntos
And how
esta situación
can we
de manera
abort
madura? Lo que
this
está ocurriendo en el
situation
mundo,
on a mature way? What is happening in the world,
en nuestra
and
zona
especially
del Caribe y la
in
América
our
Latina.
Caribbean and Latin American zone?
Debemos comenzar con
We must
principios
start speaking about clear principles,
principios que no deben ser violados,
principles that cannot be violated,
y tomar en consideración
and take it into consideration
prácticas
practical circumstances
que debemos negociar
that we have to negotiate,
y para las cuales debemos prepararnos.
and we have to be ready for them.
La CARICOM,
CARICOM, CELAC,
la CELAC, ALBA,
ALBA,
todas las organizaciones regionales del
all the
Caribe y
regional
Latino
organization from the Caribbean and Latin American has declared
que somos una zona
that we
de
are
paz.
a peace zone.
Una zona de paz significa
A,
que no hay
a zone peace means that there is no war,
y todos nuestros amigos
and all our friends or our neighbors
deben aceptar
must
que
accept
nosotros
that
añoramos la
we
paz.
love peace.
El segundo aspecto
The
que es
second aspect
inviolable
that is unviolable
es que ningún país
that no country
debe interferir en los
must
asuntos
interfere
internos
in
de
internal
otros.
affairs of other countries.
No podemos interferir en los asuntos
We can
internos de Estados
interfere
Unidos,
in
de
U.S.
Canadá,
internal affairs
y
or
ninguno de
Canada,
ellos debe
and
interferir
no
en
one
nuestros
of them
asuntos tampoco.
can interfere
Somos
in
vecinos.
our business. We are neighbors.
No podemos considerar San Vicente
We
como
can
Venezuela
consider Venezuela, Cuba, and San Vicente
y llevarlos y mudarlos a
and take and
Vladivostok.
move them to Vladivostok.
Tenemos los beneficios
We have the benefits
y las potencialidades
and the potentialities,
y en términos reales somos vecinos
and we are neighbors,
y vivimos
and we live
cerca del país más poderoso que
Close.
jamás haya existido.
to the most powerful country ever.
Tenemos una historia
We have a history.
quizás no ha sido la mejor,
Maybe it's not the best of the history,
pero
but
en esa historia ha habido posibilidades.
in this history, there were possibilities.
En el caso de Cuba
In Cuba case,
ha habido una relación fracturada
it was a fractured nation
desde
from
1961,
1961, but here they began in 1959. We are speaking
de 64 años.
about 64 years.
Debemos buscar
We must
la manera de
we must
sanar
seek a
esta
way
relación fracturada. Ha
to
habido
heal this
pasos
fractured
tomados por el
relationship.
Raúl
Castro,
presidente
Raúl Castro
Obama,
and
y
Obama,
las iniciativas
president,
fueron
they have some initiative, but they were broken.
de conseguir la
We must try
manera
to get a way
de conseguir un diálogo productivo
to get a productive dialogue
para que a
so
pesar
that
de
in
las
spite of
diferencias podamos
the
vivir en
difference
paz
that
y
we
armonía.
have, we can live in harmony and peace.
Uno de los obstáculos
One of
ha
the
sido el embargo.
obstacles has been the embargo, who has been declared illegal by the United Nations Assembly in unitary way. AMO has to try to persuade our U.S. friends that what is happening here is wrong and counterproductive. Now, it is easier to say what to do, but we have to keep on trying because we are where we are. They are not going to leave, and we also are not going to leave. In Venezuela case, we have watched the last movement. The CARICOM has condemned it, ALBA has condemned it, and CELAC has made a declaration. But to have warship in our air waters and a nuclear submarine, make us to think seriously that they are there to fight against drug traffic. If you want to do that, you have to speak to the government. That is why in international forums it is done. There is a United Nations committee in charge on that. There is an international agreement that we have signed. We can work together because none of us want drug traffic keep on and seeing these criminals in our waters, in our seas. This discussion must be done inside this forum, and we have to make it in a mature way. When we take the fact that the big majority of cocaine, of cocaine,
la mayoría de estas mercancías llegan por el Pacífico, no llegan por el Caribe.
The majority of the drug does not go through the Caribbean.
They have been working together along with the United States as well to battle, to face drug trafficking. Venezuela is making enormous efforts, as we are observing in statistics. If our evaluation is correct, I think that we are correct, that this maneuver, military maneuver, has nothing to do with drugs. That's a lie, as we have been mentioning in other occasions. So we need to know what's behind these maneuvers. The government of Venezuela, I think they have come to a conclusion. They are very affected. Perhaps are the U.S. seeking for a change regime in Venezuela? Looks like that's the reason. Looks like what they wish for. The money that has been asked for the head of president and the great powers are not acting in vain. We do not believe that a simple threat, we know they have weapons. Israel, for example, has proven in Qatar that They do not need to enter Qatar when they just bombed Doha. They did so going through the Red Sea, crossing the Red Sea. They didn't have to enter physically in Qatar. No Israeli military had to enter. With today's military technologies, you can build up your home, and look what happened between Moscow and Ukraine and vice versa. Everything, all of this, makes it more complex, the nature of wars. To seeking ways in which we are at this hour live to the 26th ALBA-TCP Political Council that is taking place on the sidelines of the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly. We are listening at this moment to high officials and foreign affairs ministers. Also, we were listening to statements of Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Ralph Gonsalves, also other member states and other high officials of member states, such as the Foreign Affairs Minister of Venezuela, Ivan Hill. Also, we listened to statements of Foreign Affairs Minister of Cuba, Bruno Rodriguez Parrilla. They both and all of these high officials are gathering today to assess a very key, important topic that is very crucial for Latin America and the Caribbean as a whole at this moment, which is the deployment of U.S. military forces in Caribbean waters that put at risk not just the stability of Venezuela, but also the stability of the whole territory of the whole Latin America as a region, as a zone of peace. And all of these officials are condemning the presence of the U.S. that seek to disguise with the alleged war on drugs on these destabilization attempts in the region, and in a moment as well in which the whole region is uniting in defending a crucial common purpose, which is to maintain Latin America as a zone of peace, as a zone of stability. And this is also being demonstrated by Venezuelans in a crucial moment as well for the country, in which the country is also uniting itself in spite of the differences, in spite of the political differences as well, because they want to pursue a single purpose, which is to defend, to protect the peace of the country, to protect as well the social initiatives, the social achievements of the nation. This is all for the moment, but stay tuned with teleSUR English, because we are going to keep updating on all of the informations that come from this event, this massive event that is going to be also being followed very closely by teleSUR English, because we want to highlight the informations that come from this political council. Now we go back again to the ALBA-TCP Political Council. Let's listen.
That is going to escape. To go to Granada. Then from Antigua, San Vicente, they are going to Aruba, they are going to European Union, etc. We must then to speak with all to see if we can have a frame where we can speak about these issues. Today I am worrisome more than I was in previous times about that something effectively is going to happen, that a conflict happens, because what is happening in the forces in USA make me think that it is going to be possible. My advice then is to be mature There must be commitment without committing everything. We have to be sober in this matter. Because it is the survival. The matter is the survival. ALBA-TCP will keep on doing its work. We have a very important work to do. We have the ALBA ship that it must arrive in October. I would like to see that ship, this ALBA ship. That inclusive before our independence declaration would be wonderful because it would be the first time since Marcos Galvez in the 90s established the station ship, and the Canadians in the 50 or 60 gave the federal town to the Western Indians. So it is the first time that after over 100 years they tried for the first time that we are going to have a ship that will carry out our goods. It's unbelievable. It has taken a lot of time since the independence of the English Caribbean in 60, and Garvey could do it in that epoch to make better the life of black people. And he went to jail because of that. And two freed him after some years in jail. They came back to Jamaica, and he died 40 years in England. He was a wonderful man. It has taken 100 years after his trial to do it. So that's why we have many wonderful things in ALBA, the ALBA ship. We have problems with Petrocaribe. And something with the payment process, and that affected all of us, so that we have also something that is at stake in all this on our side. Not only Venezuela is the one that is at stake. Now, we have to be successful in our efforts at short term. Now, that success, it is between words. We could do it very costly. If something against the sovereign, but it is better to pay a price, but we are who we are, and we must try and see how to use all our efforts, and we must be decided on this matter and to consider things that we have never considered before. My own country, San Vicente and Grenadines, and I have said to ALBA and United Nations, and I'll say that tomorrow when I speak, we're going to have election at the end of this year, and there is a passport selling. Some Chinese passport and European passport. I'm not saying or speaking bad about these countries that are selling their nationality. So we want to sell our passport. We don't want to do that because companies can sell our passport and our nationality. And they have given money to the opposition to take our government out because the opposition says that they want to sell passport about this nationality. Then it's not only the states can give nationalities and passport, but there are also enterprises with money. That is not right. And we have to fight against these tendencies. Now, this is an inferior level of suffering and pain that the ones that are having Cuba and Venezuela, but it is a part of the problem. It's already disturbed the democratic life of our countries. And there are going to be consequences because of that. Because I'm not going to keep sitting, folding hands, and letting this to happen. On the same way that Venezuela is not going to keep her folded arm. They must be ready and do things according to the circumstances. My advice then, under this difficult situation, maybe this is not reform, but we have to think ways to treat these problems, what we have to do in national levels. I am worried, very worried.
Bien, escuchamos a Rangel
We are
Salves.
listening at this moment to the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. He was condemning the presence of U.S. military ships in the Caribbean waters without any evidence of the real actions on the real motive of drug trafficking or fighting on drug trafficking, in spite their foreign ministers and also the high officials of the ALBA-TCP, the Bolivarian alternative of, at this moment, reunited during the 26th ALBA-TCP Political Council, are condemning that these actions in the Caribbean are putting at risk Latin America as a whole. It is not just an action performed against Venezuela, but also an action that puts at risk Latin America as a whole, as a region of peace. Let's keep listening to the statements at this hour of the ALBA-TCP Political Council.
Receive the firm and revolutionary congratulation and special love from our commander Daniel Ortega Saavedra, and who from Nicaragua, always free, support this fight, this common fight against empire aggressions. Our cause is and will always be a justice cause, a love cause. And from these ideals and values that inspire, motivate, and move with a positive energy, and we say we are going forward together, because it is together as we are going to win. The Venezuelan Republic, from Venezuela, from Chavez, from brother Nicolas Maduro, that together with his people are facing with victories all aggression and destabilization from the imperialism. We say, we are with you, waving the defense flags, sovereign flags, independence flags, and self-determination. Brothers, comrades, we are living crisis times in the world. Even though we are walking forward to multipolar world, showing that the sovereign people do not accept only a center, a power center, hegemonic center, that decide the humanity destiny. This waking, multipolar waking, is essentially the firm answer to the centuries of colonization and robbery to our region that today is a peace zone. ALBA shows the real integration comes from the unity, solidarity, the unwilling cooperation. In front of the decadency of the imperial hegemonism, the imperialist government goes to the war, to mediatic manipulation, to military aggressions against Venezuela and destabilization of Latin America and the Caribbean. The same empire that 2 centuries ago sent their cannon ships, they are doing that again with arrogance and supremacism, trying Latin American as their colony, when it is our peace zone. In front of this military aggression, this interference, and their military presence, committing crimes, selfish vices, dominion vices, our voices and heart are raised to cry out, we are only one people, defending peace, the self-determination, sovereignty, dignity, and the right, our legal right, to demand respect to our nations. We state our solidarity with Venezuela, siege, aggravated, but never kneeling. That is an active country of resistance, anti-imperialism resistance. We reject the false accusations against the Venezuelan Republic and the government that pretend to stain their fight for their liberation and share their solidarity with brother countries. Comrades, our Nicaragua, Sandino Nicaragua, from the Popular Revolution, asserts their commitment with the just causes for Venezuela and Nicolás Maduro against the aggressions. It is our solidarity with its unstoppable example. We express our deepest acknowledgement to Venezuela Republic for the leadership in our alliance, our support to the heroic Cuba with more than 60 years of criminal blockade, showing that dignity is more powerful than all weapons of the empire. Cuba is a loving country from peace. Its solidarity is acknowledged by all peoples in the world. Our hug to the Caribbean countries here represented, Grenada, Dominique, Antigua, Barbuda, St. Vincent and Grenadines, and Bolivia, the always noble. We assert our solidarity with the Palestinian people, self-determination of these people, to end comrades with the conviction that victory is sure when we are all together working, reinforcing points our energy, revolutionary energy, to keep on consolidating new victories, making peace to prevail in America Latin America and the Caribbean. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Minister.
We were listening to the statements of the representative of Nicaragua at this moment to the 26th ALBA-TCP Political Council, listening to high officials and foreign affairs ministers of member states of the Bolivarian Alternative for Latin America, an initiative promoted and that surged under the ideals of Commander-in-Chief of Cuba, Fidel Castro, and Commander-in-Chief as well, Hugo Chavez Frias. And today there is a common sense, there is a common call, which is to preserve Latin America as a zone of peace. All of the representatives of high officials that have spoken out in this event today, this early morning of Wednesday, have condemned the threats that have been imposed on Venezuela by the U.S. government, and also this is going to be the center space, the center debate and the center topic of this meeting, an aggression that is also putting at risk the stability of Latin America and the Caribbean under the false and the alleged justification of combating drug trafficking in Caribbean waters, but also means a threat, means a harassment as well of the entire Latin American community. So in this scenario, ALBA is reiterating and following a single stance, and a very strong one, which is the military deployment in Caribbean waters is illegal, is unjustified. Latin America must remain as a zone of peace, and if the U.S. has the initiative of combating drug trafficking, it must do so with the coordinated action among all of the member states. Let's listen to the statements of a new representative of this initiative.
We are committed with Tlatelolco treatment to establish this zone as free from nuclear weapons, not to have or to acquire this kind of weapons. It is something to follow to these kind of zones to guarantee peace and security of our citizens. We condemn energically the effort to destabilize the economic sovereignty of Cuba. Also, we ask to take out Cuba from the unilateral list as a terrorist sponsor that intensified the blockade against its people. As a custody of Latin American regions elected by democratic systems, we have the responsibility to solve our differences by institutionalized procedures without going into wars in a big escalation. Or it is our hope that our glories in ALBA family to link in CELAC frame, as we are making effort to make government from Latin America and the Caribbean keep relations in peace among us for the new generations. Once more, Antigua and Barbuda condemn energically all the tries to spot the Venezuelan Republic and commit our support, continued support, defending democracy and the right state. Thank you, Mr. President. I want Sir Douglas, Minister from San Cristobal and Nieves. Welcome, Chancellor. You can talk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
distinguished representatives of the states present here today in this political council. I want to greet the distinguished representatives, and I would like to send my greeting on behalf of St. Kitts and Nevis government and to send as well the greetings from the authorities of St. Kitts and Nevis. We are here gathered in this political council to reaffirm our strong commitment with the state of law and to guarantee that the zone of the Caribbean remains a zone of peace. St. Kitts and Nevis would like to say that in the past years we have had an excellent relationship with the government and people of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. We want to say that we recall the numerous and the distinguished President Hugo Chavez when he visited us on St. Kitts and Nevis in a moment that we were seeking to sign an agreement with the mechanism with the support of the peoples of the Caribbean zone. And also I can say with a full confidence that the challenges, economical challenges and financial challenges that we face as a country during these years were mitigated, overpassed, circum, thanks to the support of Venezuela to guarantee that our country has hope and a light thanks to the support of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. The households, education, health, that we have been performing thanks to the example of the Bolivarian nation, and also it's going to be remembered by our people. Today, the people are living a better life as a result of these social programs. Today, when we declare our hope to keep improving the health services, of course, we are going to ask for Venezuela's help through the Ministry of Health of Venezuela, and we are very sure that Venezuela is going to be on our side in spite of the turbulent moments that has brought so much uncertainty and concern of the people and the government of Venezuela that are experiencing at this moment. We are concerned about the presence of the U.S. ships in our area. We are concerned because as a result of this interventionist attempt, we are calling for the region to be a zone of peace, to remain as a zone of peace. St. Kitts and Nevis is calling for a direct and honest dialogue. We condemned any attempt of spreading war on our borders, the borders among neighboring nations of Guyana and Venezuela. We condemned any attempt of utilizing those borders to for the drug trafficking and human trafficking and armed trafficking as well. That is why St. Kitts and Nevis keeps making a call for a direct dialogue. And we believe and we want to ensure to all of our brothers and sisters of the region that in the Caribbean community, and particularly in St. Kitts and Nevis, we are making a call to dialogue, a call to put an end to any confrontation, that today we are using these stands and is going to be the result of the discussions of this political council to reaffirm our commitment and the region's commitment. Thank you very much, Press. Thank you very much. We were listening to the statements, and I want to welcome the floor to the Foreign Affairs Minister Sosa here we give the floor to the Foreign Affairs Minister. We are live at this hour to the 26th ALBA-TCP Political Council.
Sorry for arriving late, but it is very complicated in here for the one who doesn't know this city. So it costed for us to arrive. I want in the first place to congratulate to the ALBA executive for this meeting in a very special moment. That the world is living and America, Latin America and the Caribbean is living. Then allow me to greet to my brothers, ministers, councillors, delegates, and the comrades that are with us in this event. We consider that the United Nations, it is a forum, universal forum, very important for dialogue and cooperation. The best one that we have today. A balance to the 80 years of created shows that its foundational principles of equality, sovereignty, and non-interference are threatened constantly. Today we should celebrate living in a world where multilateralism was the language, the official language, the natural scenery for humanity development. Reality is different to aspiration and proposal that it was created, United Nations. The world goes to an irreversible tradition. In the meantime, there is a crisis as a consequence of capitalism and domination mechanisms. Conflicts, armed conflicts,
species and systematic violation to the human rights today are put at danger the continuity of humanity. Additionally, the inefficiency of the institutions, international institutions, ratify a key fact, undeniable one, that a response to the global governance that is urgent and unpostponable. From the Global South, we organize ourselves in the framework of the ALBA-TCP to face the dangers and challenges that we have in our region. The US denies to lose its hegemony on Latin America and is applying methods that are archaic and defeated by our peoples. The presence of the military under the pretext of the drug trafficking struggle are creating provocative scenarios that put at risk the peace and is an attempt to defeat the sovereign states of the region. To impose accusations that are upon our brother constitutional president Nicolás Maduro and is an attack against our sovereignty. We reaffirm in the face of these actions our support, solidarity with the valuable people of Venezuela and its president, in which the ALBA-TCP, we need to make it very clear that we are not going to accept the return of these colonialist practices that hamper the freedom and dignity of our countries. Latin America is a region of peace, of cooperation. We do not accept that it to be turned into a scenario of confrontations that put at risk the stability of our countries. We are and we will keep being a zone of peace with the willingness of all of our peoples to assist and at this United Nations General Assembly that is offering an opportunity to condemn and to boost multilateralism as the only guarantee to peace, to inclusion and respect among our nations. In this context, ALBA-TCP is consolidating itself as a space that reinforces the voice of our nations in a scenario, multilateral scenario, reaffirming the principles of respect, equity, solidarity, and integration that must be the path of solutions, international solutions. We condemn, we urged with a strong stance in this ALBA-TCP about the urgent tasks that are affecting the region. We demand a reform of the United Nations Security Council for the voices of the people, historically marginalized, also can be heard. We must call to a deep analysis of the international financial system that today is putting at risk the future. And we need to establish multilateralism, democratic and participative of our peoples. We reject the unilateral coercive measures contrary to international law and are very far away from and are seeking to halt the self-determination of the peoples and are hampering the development of our societies, our peoples. We condemned the unfair and illegal blockade to a people, a brave people that are the brothers and sisters of Cuba for over 60 years that have caused so much suffering and sorrow to our brothers and sisters of Cuba. That is why we cannot remain silent in the face of so much injustice of a country that believes it is very powerful but really wants to be the owner of the world. That is why we have to demand in a very strong way the immediate cease of the genocide that is being lived by the brothers and sisters of the people of Palestine. The hunger, the extermination, the fear that is killing women and men, thousands of women and men. For that, we need to really make it happen, the sovereignty and the rights of the brothers and sisters of Palestine. Also, we need action, urgent actions, and effective compromises of the countries involved, and also or peoples that have not been but this does not mean that the countries in a very effective way to face that crisis that is being left by the world today. Let's call to the United Nations General Assembly to declare the world as a zone of peace. Let's propose the special mission of ALBA-TCP as a mechanism, a political mechanism, as a collective initiative to strengthen dialogue between parliaments, academies, mobilize support, national and international, to defend our compromise of peace as a historical task that is calling us to work together towards an integral order. Let's follow the ideas of the Commander-in-Chief, Fidel Castro Ruz, about the necessary action of the peoples. We are not just spectators. This world is also our world. Nothing can substitute our actions of integrity. With the strength of history and the hope of Latin America and the Caribbean, let's make that this assembly, United Nations General Assembly, is remembered as the moment in which the humanity chose the prevalence of life for the simple path of capitalism and death. ALBA-TCP is something is natural that is nurturing us on the decision to keep being free. That is why ALBA-TCP needs to constitute itself as a powerful integration of Latin America. We have made so much efforts for CELAC also become the space, of decision, and we are achieving it. We need to keep expanding this power, that we believe that we have the possibility and the responsibility for us to change the world, today's world. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, dear Minister Celinda Sosa from Bolivia. I want to give the word to Filbert Agua, Ambassador from Dominic. Go ahead, you have the word. Thank you very much, Councillor.
Greetings, first of all, from Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit, Minister of the Commonwealth of Dominica. And from Foreign Minister Vince
En nombre del canciller
On behalf
Henderson.
of Henderson, Chancellor.
Saludos al liderazgo de todos los
My greets
países
to the leadership
que estamos aquí.
of all countries represented here,
Saludos a usted,
specifically
señor
to you, Mr. Chancellor
Canciller
Ivan Hill.
Saludos al
Greetings
ejecutivo.
to the Executive Secretary and congratulations for your designation in this important position.
También quisiera saludar
I would also like to greet Raúl Vicausi, my friend,
que tiene una historia en el conocimiento de
that has his knowledge and history in this organization. For many time,
ha sido el vínculo
he has
físico
been
entre
the physical link
la región del Caribe
between
y América
the Caribbean region and Latin America.
También quisiera reconocer
I also would like to recognize the Bolivian Chancellor,
de Nicaragua,
representative from Nicaragua, Antigua, Grenada,
por supuesto, San Cristóbal
and of course Saint Christophe and Neve, the Grenadines,
Hermanos y hermanas,
brothers and
cada
sisters.
foro tiene su particularidad
Every forum has its peculiarity,
y quisiera recordar
and I want to
la
recall
particularidad del ALBA.
the ALBA particularity.
Por 10 años fui
For
el
10
coordinador
years,
nacional
I was
del
the
ALBA para
national
Dominica
coordinator from ALBA to Dominic,
y embajador
an
de
ambassador
Venezuela.
in Venezuela.
Y disculpen, quisiera hablar
And I would like to
del mismo
speak
tono
in the same
establecido por
tone
todos aquí,
established by everybody
y también
here,
por el doctor Ralph
and also by
González,
Ralph Gonsalves, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves,
quien especificó
who
la necesidad
specified
de
the
una mejor
necessity
comprensión de la
of a
situación
better
actual.
comprehension of the actual situation.
Una situación que todos coincidimos es cada
A
vez más
situation
compleja
that we all consider it is every time more
y
complex
que está cargada de peligros.
and that is full of danger.
Y voy a tratar de hacer esto
And I'm trying to do this
tono que normalmente toma
and the tone that normally Dominica takes. Dominica normally speaks pragmatically and simple in international forums.
Y para continuar con este
And I
mismo
will
tono,
continue the
creo
tone.
que este foro
I think that this forum needs
un tono muy concreto, pragmático.
a pragmatic and concrete tone.
Quisiera recordar
Let me recall
que
Dominica joined ALBA
en
in 2008,
y este fue un momento
and it
histórico
was a
para
very
el ALBA y
historical
para
moment
Dominica.
for ALBA and Dominica.
Entendíamos que el ALBA
We
era un
understood that
movimiento
ALBA
específico de
was a
integración regional
specifically integration movement in the region,
y luchábamos por mantener esta
and we fight
particularidad del
to keep
movimiento.
on this particularity of the movement.
No me canso de recordar que
I'm
en el
not
momento
getting
que nos
tired to
unimos al
recall
ALBA,
in the moment that we joined ALBA,
ALBA era un movimiento de países
ALBA was a
latinoamericanos,
movement of Latin American countries,
específicamente
specifically Venezuela, Bolivia, Nicaragua,
y
and
Cuba.
Cuba.
Dominica se convirtió en el
Dominica
primer miembro
began to be the
anglófono
first
del ALBA.
Anglophone member of the ALBA.
Y no
And-
me canso
And
de recordar
I'm not
eso,
tired to remember that
porque hubo formas de resistencia
because there were
particulares
resistance
para que
ways
Dominica
to
se uniera
avoid Dominica
que fueron
united
significativos
and that was
y que son significativos
meaningful
para los
and
retos
that
que
are
enfrentamos hoy en
meaningful
día.
for the threats that we are
La
facing today.
intención de Dominica de unirse al ALBA
The intention
se encontró
of Dominica
con
to join ALBA
controversias
brought controversy
y una predicción de perdición.
and a provision.
Y mi primera tarea como
And my
coordinadora
first task as
nacional
national coordinator
fue hablar con el
was
pueblo
to
de
speak
Dominica
with the Dominican people
y hablar con personas
and to
comunes
speak with common people
sobre
about
los objetivos y actividades
the
prácticos
objectives
del ALBA,
and activities, practical activities of ALBA,
establecido por
with
primer
established
ministro
established
Skerrit y
by
el
Prime Minister
gobierno de
Ruben Skerrit
Dominica.
and government of
Cuando
Dominica.
Dominica se
And when
unió en
Dominica joined in
2008,
2008,
hubo una diabolización,
there was a
había una diabolización
devilization
del presidente Chávez,
of Chavez, President
el
Chavez.
primer ministro
And Prime Minister
pronunció un discurso nacional específico
pronounced a national speech specifically
en el cual declaró
in which he declared
no había ningún diablo
that
en
there
el
was
ALBA.
not any evil at ALBA.
Luego,
Later,
el pueblo de Dominica
the Dominican people
le otorgó su confianza
gave the
al
confidence
movimiento.
to the movement.
Y luego de las manifestaciones
And after
concretas
the
de
concrete
cooperación,
manifestation of
progreso
cooperation,
y
progress
desarrollo
and
para
development
el pueblo de Dominica,
for the Dominica people,
2 veces el pueblo de Dominica recibió de forma espontánea
the
al
people
presidente
spontaneously
Chávez.
received Chavez twice,
Y bueno, le llamaban Papá Chávez.
and they call him Papa Chavez.
Dominica
Dominica
era parte del comité de
was
bienvenida
a part of
de
the welcome
Honduras al
welcome
ALBA.
committee from Honduras in El Alba.
El gobierno de Manuel Zelaya
And Manuel Zelaya's government
él fue derrocado posteriormente.
he was overthrown later.
Bueno, creo que ya esto es suficiente
Well, I think it is
contexto
enough. It is an enough context
para decir
to
claramente
say clearly
que los miembros,
that the members,
especialmente los miembros
especially
anglófonos del
Anglophone
ALBA,
members from ALBA,
traen una visión particular de las relaciones
bring
internacionales,
a particular mission of international relations, a mission, particular mission
de las relaciones con la
from
ONU
relations with United Nations,
y también
and also
una visión particular de
a particular
nuestras
mission
hermanas y hermanos
with
en el
our
continente, especialmente Latinoamérica,
brothers and sisters in
incluida
Latin America,
la valiente isla de Cuba.
inclusive the brave island of Cuba.
Y eso
And that
fijó el tono
fixed
de
the tone
la forma en que vemos la situación
of the way
actual.
that we see the actual situation.
Cómo se reflejó
As reflected
en la posición de Dominica
in
y
Dominica
el ALBA
position
y
and ALBA
presidente Chávez.
and Chavez,
Estamos más
we are
preocupados
most
por el progreso y el
concerned
desarrollo
about
de
progress
nuestros pueblos.
and the development of our people.
Todos los días
We are
estamos
every day
conscientes
aware
de los inicios de
that
nuestra
at the
región
beginning
en la colonización
of
y la
our
esclavitud.
region in colonization and slavery. There is not a day that we forget that.
No importa cuán sofisticado
It doesn't matter how
el idioma,
sophisticated the language is.
no importa qué tan grande sea
It doesn't matter
el foro.
how big the forum is.
Nosotros,
We,
los pequeños estados
the small countries,
del Caribe
the small Caribbean
oriental,
countries,
nosotros estamos
we are
conscientes de
aware
nuestro origen
about our
el
origins
genocidio de
in the
los
genocide
indígenas, de
of
los
the
pueblos
indigenous,
indígenas,
of the
y
indigenous
la
people,
esclavitud de los
and the
pueblos
slavery
africanos y la
of the
colonización
African
de
people,
nuestros pueblos.
and the colonization of our peoples.
Y nosotros guardamos nuestro progreso de
And
una
we
forma
keep our
celosa.
progress with jealousy.
Es por esto
That
que
is why
en diferentes momentos
at
de
different
retos
moments
en la organización,
in the organization,
el primer ministro,
Prime Minister Skerrit,
el canciller
the
Henderson,
Chancellor Henderson,
han
and
recurrido a la sobriedad,
have taken to has gone to sobriety, rationality,
y una amplia consulta
and wide consultation,
y por supuesto al
and of
diálogo,
course a dialogue,
con el objetivo principal
with the
de
main aim
conservar
to preserve
el progreso y
progress
el desarrollo
and
que
development
hemos luchado
that
por
we have
alcanzar
fought
en
to
nuestra
get
región.
in our region.
And so this is how I will end.
Y bueno, es así como voy
And
a
that is
finalizar
how I am going to end this,
By emphasizing
enfatizando
by
que en
emphasizing
este momento,
that in this moment,
este momento
that this
muy
moment
peligroso,
is very dangerous,
es muy complicado
it's
para
very
nuestro
complicated
movimiento
for our movement,
y requiere
and requires
best resources of our rationality,
los mejores recursos de nuestra
the best resources
racionalidad,
of our rationality,
commitment to conserving
el mejor compromiso para
the best
conservar
commitment
y preservar
to
nuestro
preserve
progreso
our progress,
y el mayor
and the greatest
compromiso
commitment
para preservar
to preserve
nuestra paz.
our peace.
Esta es la posición
This
de
is the
Dominica
Dominica stance,
y es lo que
and
luchamos
it is
por
what we
comunicar
are fighting to communicate
de la forma más simple y
from the
práctica
simplest
posible.
and practical way.
No importa
It doesn't matter
qué tan
how
sofisticado sea el foro,
sophisticated the forum
no
is.
importa qué tan complicado sea el
It
tema.
doesn't matter how complicated the issue
No
is.
podemos
We can't
darnos el lujo de perder
have
cualquiera de
the
los avances
luxury of
que
losing
hemos
our
logrado.
advances. We can't
No podemos
We can-
dejar de realizar ningún esfuerzo para proteger
stop
lo que
doing
hemos
any effort
logrado.
to protect what we have reached.
Nuestra historia
Our
ha sido
history
suficientemente
has been
pesada
Enough heavy,
con humillaciones,
rough with humiliation,
con sangre
blood, shed,
y la supresión de los derechos de nuestros
and the
pueblos.
suppression of our people's rights.
Entonces, Dominica
Then Dominica
insta
is calling
a todos a tener el mejor
to all to have the best spirit,
para garantizar
to guarantee
que salgamos de la situación
to go out from this situation
mejor de lo que
better
estábamos.
than we were.
Muchas gracias.
Then, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, dear ambassador from.
I want to offer the floor to beloved Ambassador Hadid from Grenada. Go ahead, Ambassador.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Traigo saludos.
My greetings from our
Canciller, quien está
Foreign Affairs Minister, who is
reuniones
busy in
importantes.
other
Es un gran
meetings.
honor
It is a
para
great
Granada
honor
dirigirse
for
a
Grenada
esta distinguida
to assess the floor in this distinguished reunion of the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of America. As a proud member of ALBA-TCP, we have compromised with solidarity, the seeking peace of Latin America. Today, Grenada wishes to express its deep concern for the escalation of the military deployment in our region, and reaffirm its strong call for justice and respect for self-determination of our peoples. The Caribbean and Latin America have been for many years regions of vibrant culture, resilient and shared dreams. However, the increasing militarization and exercises and foreign alliances a threat to destabilize this harmony. Grenada asks firmly that a region is respected as a zone of peace, as it is reaffirmed by Latin American Proclamation as a zone of peace of the CELAC of 2014. We reject any action that puts division in our lands and shared waters, and we are calling of all of the parties to offer priority for the dialogue. With this spirit, Grenada is making a call for the constructive dialogue to put an end to the tensions between Venezuela and the United States of America. Disputes need to be solved. Without being resolved, put at risk the stabilization of our region with high consequences for Latin America. The mutual respect is the only way for the de-escalation of respect. We cannot allow that foreign aggressions destabilize the peace that have taken us so many efforts to achieve. We reiterate our strong call for the lifting unconditionally the sanctions imposed on our brotherly nation Cuba, and the military presence in our region also supposes a direct threat to our economic sources. For example, in Grenada, tourism, the fishery, is a pillar of our economy that is the base of our well-being. And this escalation, it doesn't matter if it's through the restriction of maritime actions or the perception of destabilization affects these industries. And our coasts and its communities can't bear the weight of militarization. So we implore to all of the actors that are considering the high cost of the human cost towards peace and towards war. Grenada is firm with the principles of the ALBA-TCP, equity and peace. We will work together to maintain our region as a zone of peace, free from sanctions and militarization. We need to defend dialogue and solidarity to guarantee a future in which all of our peoples can develop in harmony. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ambassador.
We send greetings to the people and government of Grenada. If there are no further comments, we can then take stock of this first phase of the meeting. I think we have sent a clear message to the world, to the United Nations, to the CELAC organization, as a bloc of the Bolivarian Alliance of the Peoples of Our America. A bloc that remains united, and more than that, a movement, an organization in movement to protect the peace, the essential values.
The two giants, Hugo Chavez and Fidel Castro. Today, the 10 countries that integrate this alliance gave a step forward to defend peace. That is the threatened value that is threatened today. in all our international community.
que existen en el mundo. Leía
Conflicts in the
que
world,
había más de
there are
164 conflictos
164 conflicts, military conflicts,
que hoy se
wars
desarrollan en el mundo.
that are developing in the world nowadays. No one must be developed in our territory.
Y la paz,
And peace,
nosotros como Alianza Bolivariana, bueno,
as
rescatando el espíritu
a Bolivarian
de
alliance,
Simón Bolívar,
we
la paz
rescue
no solo la ausencia
Bolivars.
de conflictos
Peace is not only
armados.
the absence of conflicts.
Es solo posible con
Peace
justicia.
is just possible with justice, with social justice, with development.
Y precisamente el
And
ALBA,
precisely
que apela
ALBA
a los pueblos,
calls the people's unity
esta paz.
is
Una
calling
paz
this
con
bill,
justicia social, una
this
paz
peace,
bolivariana.
a Bolivarian peace,
Y
a peace with
esta
social
comunidad,
justice.
esta alianza,
And this
ha
alliance
sabido
has known
defender,
to defend,
ha sabido
has known
consolidar
to deepen this peace
a través de los distintos programas, a
through
través de
different programs,
acciones.
through different
Y creo que
actions.
hoy, en
And
esta
I
reunión
think
de
that today in this
donde
councilors
debe
meeting,
significar la presencia
where it is meaningful,
del primer ministro González, de
the
San
presence of
Bernardino,
Raul Gonzalez from St. Vincent and Grenadines,
ratificado
we are
ante
ratifying
el mundo,
in front of the world,
ratificado ante
we are
la
ratified
comunidad latinoamericana, ante
in
la
front
Nación
of Latin
Unida,
American community, United Nations,
y además
this
orgulloso
volunteer.
de mostrar
I'm proud to
un
show
camino construido con
a
acciones
way
concretas.
built with concrete actions.
Agroalba,
AgroAlba,
Azul,
Alba Azul,
el barco que hoy transita
the ship
nuestros mares,
that all goes through our ship with
elaborado por las
goods
manos de nuestras
elaborated
mujeres,
by
nuestros hombres,
hands of
y que
women and men
comienza un
that
intercambio importante.
begins with important interchanges,
Conexiones marítimas
air connections, maritime connections, and political
que
connections
nos permiten mostrar
that allow us to show the difference. There are many integration projects.
de unidad.
There are many unity projects among our countries. No one like ALBA.
El ALBA es un proyecto basado en la unidad
ALBA
en
is
base
based on
a los
unity,
pueblos,
based
desde los
on
pueblos y para
people,
los
from the people and to the people.
La mayoría de los proyectos de integración están
Majority
basados en
of integration
aspectos
projects
comerciales,
are
financieros,
based on financial
de
projects,
negocios.
economical,
Y ALBA,
business,
a pesar de tratar
and ALBA,
incluso todos los aspectos económicos de desarrollamiento y
in
de-
spite
y
of
de
treating
desarrollo
all these
entre los
projects,
pueblos, está basado en la unidad,
is based
primero en
first on the
en
people,
los seres humanos.
on human
Así que
beings.
quiero
So
agradecer con estas breves palabras
I want to thank with
vuestra
these
presencia,
words
queridos colegas, cancilleres,
our
primer
presence,
ministro,
prime ministers,
embajadores que hoy
ambassadors
nos han
that today
acompañado,
are with us
en esta gestión. Y
in this
quiero
meeting.
seguidamente,
And I
si no hay
want,
objeción,
if there is not any
entiendo que la
objection,
declaración ha sido aprobada
I think the
por
declaration
todos los
has
presentes.
been
Quiero
approved
darle
by all
el uso
present,
del micrófono a nuestro
and I want to
secretario
give
ejecutivo de la Alianza,
the microphone to our Secretary Rander Peña
para que lea
to
ante la
read
comunidad nacional e
in front of
internacional,
the international
ante
community
nuestros países y
of our
internacional
countries
de todas las de las Naciones Unidas,
and
lea
United
los
Nations
12 puntos
to read
de la declaración
the 12
que
points
el día de
of
hoy este Consejo Político
the declaration that this
ha
political
aprobado
council
en
have
su
approved
sesión
in
número
its
26,
26th section
que se ha reunido en Nueva York,
that has been
aprovechando
meeting here in New York, taking use of this United Nations Assembly.
Gracias, canciller Iván Gil. Saludar a cada
So I
uno
want
de
to
los
greet
cancilleres,
all of the foreign ministers,
embajadores que
ambassadors
están presentes
that
en la reunión del
are
Consejo Político de la Alianza Bolivariana
being
para el
here
Desarrollo
in this political
Tratado de
council
Comercio del Pueblo, que
about the
ha deliberado sobre
people's
distintos
commerce
temas
that have
importantes
deliberated
para
on these
todos,
topics. It is very
que nos permiten,
important
como usted lo
because
ha
they allow
referido,
us, as you mentioned,
estimado canciller Iván Gil,
my
delinear
beloved
de manera conjunta y
Foreign
unida
Affairs Minister, in a
los
joint
caminos que
way,
debemos
the
transitar
path that we
en la
need
dirección
to
correcta
go
para
through
cada
to
uno.
overcome
En el
all of the
entendido de que
challenges
la
in the
humanidad está bajo ataque, de que el futuro
the humanity is under attack, the future is under attack, and the Bolivarian Alliance, as always,
indicado así el
has
comandante
indicated
Chávez
by Commander Hugo Chavez and Commander Fidel Castro Ruz of this guidance that is leading the peoples of the Americas. And I follow to read the proclamation of this 26th Political Council of the ALBA-TCP, reaffirm the proclamation of Latin America as a zone of peace, reaffirming the proclamation of Latin America and the Caribbean as a zone of peace. We, the Ministers of Foreign Affairs of Venezuela, Cuba, Bolivia, Nicaragua, Dominica, and San Kitts and Nevis, Antigua and Barbuda, San Vincent and the Grenadines, gathered during the 26th Political Council in New York in the framework of the 80th session of the United Nations General Assembly, inspired in the resistance of our peoples, original peoples, and the anti-colonization, emancipatory of the 21st century, and the legacy of Augusto César Sandino and Commander Hugo Chavez and Commander Fidel Castro, who 1 year of its centenary, he's drawn this path of unity. We reiterate our commitment with the independence and peace of our region. And in the face of the U.S. military deployment and the threat against peace, security, and the stability of Latin American and Caribbean states, first, we reject categorically the actions of the U.S., the introducing destructors and submarines and ships, nuclear submarines, being a clear violation of Latin America's zone of peace, and also the community of states of Latin America and Caribbean states, the Treaty of Tlatelolco, and the compromise of this military organization of Latin America established. Second, we repudiate the military offensive of the U.S. government in the Caribbean that through a destructor of the U.S. Army identified USS Duhen, tripulated by 18 military soldiers, have attacked the Carmen Rosa ship in Venezuela that with 9 humble people on board that were in jail for 8 hours, violating all of the actions of the fishery norms and violation of the maritime area. We defend and demand the defense of. We condemned strongly the extrajudicial executions confessed by the own government of the United States in the Caribbean Sea. These actions constitute a flagrant violation of the fundamental human rights that reaffirm Latin America as a zone of peace with no militarization. We reaffirm the reaffirmation of the Caribbean as a zone of maritime action, and we reaffirm as well we reject the U.S. State Department actions that qualified the zone as a narco trafficking zone in the United Nations, violating the norms of the United Nations for several years for the combat of drug trafficking. And it's been classified Venezuela as irrelevant in this aspect. This act evidences the construction of a vulgar narrative, false with cynicism, for a changed regime in Venezuela, a government that has been democratically elected by the Venezuelan people. We reaffirm our support for President of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro Moros, in the face of the accusations without evidence unleashed against him that have no legal support, for a media harassment and threatening to delegitimize the government elected democratically. We denounce the policies, the tariff policies imposed as a way of economic war that affect the economy and well-being of our peoples. These actions violate the international law and restrict the just commerce and equitable commerce. We demand the end and without conditions of all of the coercive measures illegal measures of the U.S. against the peoples of Cuba, Nicaragua, and Venezuela that seek to halt their development and stability, constituting a grave violation to international law and the right of the peoples on their development. We demand the lifting of the U.S. economic blockade, financial blockade imposed on the brotherly nation of Cuba, and their immediate exclusion from the arbitrary list of alleged states that allegedly sponsor terrorism, that reinforces the economic siege and lacks of law basis. We denounce the genocide perpetrated by Israel in the occupation forces in the Gaza Strip and the end of the occupation, reaffirming our unconditional support to the people of Palestine and the right for a sovereign state with Jerusalem as its capital. We highlight the urgent necessity of fix a joint position of the states member of the CELAC to face any aggression from abroad that affects the stability in the region, and reaffirming the postulates of the Latin American and Caribbean states as a zone of peace. And we announce the confirmation of a special mission of the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of America, People's Trade Treaty, ALBA-TCP, informed by high delegates of the member states with the purpose of visiting Latin American countries and the Caribbean states to defend the proclamation as a zone of peace, to dialogue with governments, parliaments, academies, and the peoples, and mobilize support regional and internationally in favor of sovereignty, stability, and self-determination of our peoples. 12. We are uniting to the call to call for a great conference for peace in Latin America and the Caribbean as in this crucial space to face the threats we face and consolidate our compromise with peace, independence, and unity of Latin America, which is recalling the call of Simon Bolivar to found the greatest union of brotherly republics of America in the Congress of Panama. Here, this has been agreed by the Foreign Affairs Ministers of the Peoples of ALBA-TCP in New York, September 25th, 2025.
I want to thank all delegations because of the efficient use of time that have allowed us to finish this meeting in the previous time. We have an agenda full of meetings, and the Bolivarian homeland, the Latin American homeland, Caribbean homeland will keep on winning instead of this tempestuous time. An applause for every one of you.
We're live at this moment to the 26th ALBA-TCP Political Council. We just listened to high officials and foreign affairs ministers, ambassadors of member states of this Alliance for the Peoples of the Americas. The threats imposed on Venezuela by the U.S. government have been a key topic of this meeting, an aggression that also puts at risk the stability of Latin America and the Caribbean, and Palestine has also been a crucial debate in this Political Council of ALBA-TCP member states, in which all of them have reinforced their support for the Palestinian cause. And in this context, let's see now the statements of the President of the State of Palestine, Mahmoud Abbas, in the context of the United Nations General Assembly, that is also offering statements in this third day of debates